Why don't we begin? I'll continue admitting people as we move forward. That's good. Good afternoon and welcome to the Center for Environmental Research and Technologies Learning Lab. In fact, learning is what Certi is all about. I'm Jan Fisher and recently have become Certi's Director of Education after we acquired Certi this past July. But Certi's loyal customers should not be concerned about the continuation of service and quality education courses that Certi is so well known for, as it is our intent to expand upon the solid foundation that Certi and its founder, Doug Clatter, who's with us today, have built over the last 20+ years. In fact, Doug and Denise Brown continue to support Certi's growth. Joining me today is Mr. Doug Clatter, the instructor and founder, and behind so many of the courses, probably all of them, right, Doug, that Certi offers and will continue to offer while creating new ones. So, Doug, why don't we start by you telling us all about what Certi's vision has been over the past 20+ years.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jan. And you're right, it's 20+ years. You know, actually it goes all the way back to the 1980s. We began teaching classroom courses in 1989 with the training centers. And administering the training centers, you know, and I'm sure some of our listeners will agree with me, who went through that horrible entry-level course with so much information compacted in a short period of time. And then I would get phone calls from people saying, when's the next course? Well, it was last week. So we realized that we needed to do a couple things. Just have a means of conveying education that can be paced for the student, as well as basically available whenever they needed it. And it gave us the challenge of doing distance-based courses. But the real challenge is how we would make a distance-based course as interesting, as lively as a classroom. So one of the things that we did, I suggest you continue to do, is there's some feedback going on here. Everybody needs to mute their phone. But basically, what we do, rather than talking behind a PowerPoint slide, we actually have a live classroom course. We would set up multiple cameras and record that and edit it. And yeah, it was a lot more work to do that, but it gave people that feeling as though they're in a live classroom. And we have instructors in this call today, you know, Nate, I'm sure you agree with me that no matter how much you prepare, the sequence of a course, etc., you never get it quite right. And the audience keeps you honest. And by recording a live session like that, actually makes it feel as though you're in the live classroom and keeps that instructor honest in the proper information that's provided at the right time. So that's what we've done over the years. We will continue to do in making virtual courses that are relevant. And that's the other thing, is by having a live classroom with seasoned mitigation contractors and measurement folks along with rookies, it really adds relevancy to the whole course. And that's what we've tried to do, rather than just reciting what you need for the exam, because what we've learned is there is life after exam.
That's for sure, Doug. So tell us, what are you going to be up to now?
Well, other than perhaps enjoying Colorado a little bit more and learning how to play my guitar a bit better than I have, what I get to do is to go out to those tough houses. Interesting situations, houses from their Nyler situations. And over the years, we've had a lot of calls from students. We provide that technical support. And what I'm intending to do is actually spend some more time out in the field, doing some research, you know, investigations, but also turning that into new curriculum, which is what I like to do best, sharing that with the industry.
That sounds really awesome, Doug, and we're going to appreciate continuing to work with you and with Denise, because you guys are the ones that have really built this incredible foundation that Certi is. I will share.
So let me turn it back on you as to what you're planning to do, Jan.
Well, we have, you're a hard act to follow, Doug. So we do have some exciting new plans for 2021, and you know we're working with you because what a success this is and has been because of you. So some of the things that we plan to do with Doug's help and guidance is to expand our CE offerings even more and to add review courses for both measurement and mitigation exam prep, because we've had requests for that over the years. So we think that's a good thing to add to that, give you one more shot at review before you take the examination. We're going to have our courses going live at some point in 2021, in addition to the online version of it. We're going to continue to provide the state-by-state live links on our website for fast, easy reference for all of our students so they know their own state's requirements. That's a very nice thing to have right on the website. They just click on it and they can access and know what they need to know for their own state. We're going to continue to get approvals with both NRPP and NRSB for courses, as they are both overseeing entities in this radon world that we live in. We're going to continue to update and upgrade courses as we see fit, because we want to worry about these things so you don't have to. That's kind of our goal here. We're in the midst of creating 2 very new large programs for 2021, which we're not going to announce yet, but we want you to check back at our website for that in the beginning of the year, hopefully, and we'll have it getting underway. Let me turn this around back to you, Doug. Certi is long known for its continued student support, even after completing a course. We continue to get a call here and there. And I know you like to say that they're looking for affirmation, that they often know what the right answer is, but they call to kind of get your feedback. You must get a lot of interesting calls. And I'm wondering if you can share some of these from a mitigation perspective today with us.
Well, you're right. I mean, over the years, we've never kicked anybody out of a course. They can always go back to the course, review. Maybe there's some arcane thing they thought they would never run across that they could review. But also they pick up the phone. And when they have a problem house to fix. And many times the student really knows what they should do, but they need affirmation. But oftentimes, from a learning standpoint, this is a learning lab. The one that I probably run into the most is students understand pressure field extension and the need to cover all or most of the slab. But what they don't necessarily understand is where that air is coming from. And many times you have excess air and the system that they've installed does not move as much air as is necessary. There's a feedback. Everybody mute your microphones. So what you see is a person will put a fan in, they'll put another fan on top of it. I've seen even 3 fans. That's almost like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing to expect different results. When you have to move more air and you're confined or restricted by the size of pipe and so forth that you have, you don't need more vacuum, you need more volume. So there's really 2 aspects. Am I getting the pressure field extension, which we can increase by adding additional suction points to the existing system if it has the sufficient capacity? But if you're putting 120 CFM or trying to put 120 CFM through a 3-inch pipe, it ain't going to happen. So you need to add another system. We don't have the tool in the toolbox to expand pipe size. And we see a lot of this in hillside homes where you have wind. We've all heard about karst in northern Alabama and those kinds of places, but frankly, high air volumes, could really be a problem in any area. Typically it is mountainous areas.
No on the live.
The other thing that can happen is you see people will do things. They'll dig out the pit to make it easier for the air to come to it, and they'll run the pipe up, minimize fittings, and then they put this screen on top of the discharge to keep bugs out and so forth. And I've seen people use like window screens that defeating the air volume. So you take the window screen out and put it, you need to have a mesh in there to keep the birds and squirrels out. but and the little kids for climbing down the pipe. But it needs to be like a 3/4 inch, pitch open screen to let the air flow through. So a lot of times it takes some diagnostics, and you have to think outside the box. It's not just pressure field extension. You have to move the volume of air at a faster rate than is provided underneath the building in order to create that requisite negative pressure. So a lot of our documents talk about stack effect and so forth, as a major reason for rate on entry, but it's also pressure in the soil that happens. And that's what gets a lot of the mitigators. Fortunately, it doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it's a real problem, and they can call us and we'll talk them through it.
That's great, Doug. Great extension. Great extension. Great explanation of that. The calls continue to come, and Doug continues to answer. That's what I can say. We're surprised at sometimes just getting an email of a statement for Doug so he can be updated as to a situation that he's helped to solve, a challenge that somebody's experienced. This is invaluable, particularly to new mitigators, but some very seasoned ones have called you too, Doug, for help that I've noticed as well. How about from a measurement professional's standpoint? What about their needs?
Well, probably the most common question I get from measurement people is I've been asked to measure or to conduct a survey in a school or a large building, and they're trying to extend residential approaches to a large building. And probably the most common thing I hear is I'm planning to test this over the weekend. I go, stop. The building is totally different on the weekend than it is during the weekdays. Yeah, but the client wants to do it on the weekend, so the kids and the teachers don't see the devices. I go, wrong. You need to have a good communication plan, and you need to test the situation or under the conditions that the occupants are in. And the building heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system has a very large effect. And what you test on the weekends is going to be different than the conditions on the weekday. That's probably one of the biggest errors that I see. And the other thing they'll say is, how do I, use my one continuous radon monitor to test 60 classrooms? Well, you don't. You use passive devices and put them all out at once so you can make a comparison between this room and that.
Here we go. Sorry. There was a lot of feedback. I was trying to quiet people down. If everybody could please mute their microphones upon entry and keep them muted, that would be very appreciated. We're getting a lot of feedback here. So Doug, I couldn't hear the last of what you were saying, but I'm assuming it had to do with the measurement aspect of it. Is that right?
Yeah. Am I coming back now?
You're back now.
Okay. Yeah, I think you muted everybody, including me. But yeah, basically you price the job for all the work that has to be done from A to Z rather than a unit price, because you may figure there's 60 rooms and you end up with only testing 55 rooms. Your overall price structure has gone down, as opposed, because really the test devices are a minor portion of the cost of doing a large survey. So test during the week. In fact, we talk a lot about that in the course we're actually doing on Friday, is when to test, how to evaluate whether the survey was done right. And that's true not just for the measurement person, but the mitigation person, that when you walk in, has this survey been done correctly? If not, you're wasting your time.
Right. So everybody, if people are not aware at this time, I'll just let everybody know that we have 2 courses on Friday that are available, continuing education courses. Each of them are 4 hours. Doug is teaching one called Radon Response in Schools and Commercial Buildings. That is a 4-hour CE course on Friday morning. And then Colin Dumais is from Radon 1 is teaching one on HRVs and ERV usage, when to use them, when to not, how to know when to use these. So they're both outstanding courses, both brand new. You'll be the first ones to see it. They're only being taught live webinar for now during the symposium. So that is Friday. You can sign up directly through certi.us. So Doug, can we talk about for a minute the state programs and getting your message out and the newer course with that, presenting radon programs?
I think everybody has the responsibility of getting the message out. You know, certainly the measurement people, the mitigation folks, but you know, the state and local programs are very, very important to get the right message. And what I guess I go back, and I'm sure other people in this, you know, at least one of you go back almost as far as I do, that when I would give a program to a group of real estate professionals at the state board, I mean, I could smell the tar before I ever got to the room. I could see the feathers being shaken out before I got there. And over the years, we developed, you know, approaches that work and some that don't work. And we talk about that. And we just recently put together a program. Actually, we had to train the speaker many years ago. We've updated that with a whole new set of slides to get out there and press the flesh on this. But the mistake that I think people make a lot is they start out with a negative message. 23,000 people die every year. Well, your typical consumer doesn't really want to hear that. You know, death and dying is not a very pleasant topic. And, you know, words, phrases like, well, not enough people are testing, we need to get more people to test. Well, heck, you know, if other people aren't testing, why should I? So I suggest we kind of turn that message around and say more and more people are testing. Thousands of folks are mitigating their homes. And I'm here to talk about how they have done it successfully and cost effectively. That's a positive message. So, you know, we have that program. We support the states. I think the CRCPD is providing that same course right now for the state people. But there's a lot of resources for those slides, as well as the videos we produced for Connecticut, Colorado, Idaho, whatever, that are available on their websites that talk about new construction, how it's done, you know, and seeing is believing. So we're going to continue, at least I hope you continue, to support the states in getting those positive messages out there.
We absolutely will, and we are. You're right. CRCPD has been enjoying that course. That's called Presenting Radon Programs, for anybody who's interested in checking that out. A very popular course. Doug, how have Certi courses worked for people just entering the field? Well,
I think, as I said before, there's no time limit on this, as opposed to everything being compressed in a few days. I've noticed some people will get it done, you know, let's say measurement course in 2 or 3 days, but it really doesn't give them the opportunity to go back and redo the quizzes and all that stuff. They generally take like a week. In fact, some people will take a year, you know, and they'll call me up to do the field exercise, which we require that a person does a field exercise and install a system, and I get to see pictures of it, and I say, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good, or I have never seen that before. So they have that kind of constructive experience. And I think that's the big difference, is it's not compressed together. You get that live classroom kind of thing, that hands-on experience, either put in a system in to be reviewed by our staff, or pairing them up with a mentor who could be a resource down the road. So I think that's the biggest thing. Probably the other one is we try to add a lot of relevance. I mean, this is what you need to know from the standards. But we also want you to be successful afterwards, because there really is life after exam, okay? And allowing people to take as long as they want and to go back into the course after they've got their certificate, I think is important, because they will say, you know, I remember him talking about inaccessible crawl spaces. I never wanted to do that, but now I have to. They'll go back, you know, into that kind of a thing. So it's worked well, but also we have companies that are expanding that want to have their employees certified rather than sending them off to classroom sessions and so forth. They do the distance learning. The employer functions as the mentor, but we still see pictures, because we've actually found that the students tell their employers, you know, Bob, I don't think we're doing this right. So it's kind of worked both up and down in that situation.
Right, that's interesting. We have received, just for the record, we've received some total passes from Doug where he takes a look at all the pictures and questions them on a few things. And then we've received some, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go back and do X, Y, and Z, and then send me the new pictures. And he'll ask them, rather than just implement it, he'll say, why am I having you do that? So they have to really express to Doug what is happening here and why they're having to go back and make some corrections on site, which has been very interesting to us to see. So,
well, I'm going to add something here, that what I would like to see happen over the next 2 years, 2 or 3 years, is that as you expand, Jan, we have more people within your organization who can be that resource. Yeah. I think that's key, that yeah, we have more mentors out there as we expand.
We are definitely planning a regional outreach like that will help more, because what we are learning, all of us, state by state, is that there are particulars in certain states. And it is very important to have regional support so that people aren't just winging it or not certain how they're going to deal with something. They can reach out to us. Right now it's Doug, but there will be others in this. I have a question, Doug. I'm going to read this from Dawn Coffey to everybody. Speaking of field experience, our son-in-law is taking your course right now and wants to know how you get someone locally to let you install a system with them when you are essentially going to be their competition.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, for the mentorship program, there's 2 ways that it's done. Either we match you up with a seasoned mitigator, and it's not going to be in your backyard. It's going to be a couple hours away that you'll have to drive in order to avoid that potential competition. But at least that's the way we structured it. What I've found is that a lot of mitigators will say, you know, I don't mind having you as a mentor in my area, because you're going to be a practitioner here anyways. So I might as well get to know who my competition is. I might as well have my competition know what the standards are so everybody's doing it correctly. And it's amazing how the mitigators have said, yeah, I'll train somebody here locally. And sometimes they actually get together, you know, and do joint ventures. So it's been very refreshing to see how the mitigation industry has said, sure, I'll help other people. It's not like I'm going to be the only plumber in Cincinnati. That's nuts, okay? You're going to have competition anyways. So that's how I handle it. Sometimes I'll call up the local mitigator and say, hey, we've got a student here, and say, hey, come on, you know, get on board. I'm a little persuasive on that. But we also have the approach, you'll have somebody who really knows their way around tools and so forth. And I encourage them to, you know, test their own home, mitigate their own home or a friend's home, etc. They take their time. It gives an opportunity to get pictures to put on their website so they can start their marketing. And it becomes a research house. In fact, you mentioned the heat recovery ventilator program that's going to be on Friday. Colin DeMai, he's a really brilliant guy. He went through the course a number of years ago in Canada, and he put in a system, and he studies it every time there's a wind that comes through or whatnot. So it becomes a research house on it. So it's worked really quite well from that standpoint. So there's always a way to do it.
I think that's great. And I think it's important to note that here in New Jersey, competition is hot, just like it is anywhere else. And, you know, for many years, we've been saying, get along with one another and you're going to be stronger together because you're going to get a big job and you don't want to have to turn it down. So it's better definitely to all be in the upper echelon of this radon universe here. So we only have a few minutes left, Doug. We could talk all afternoon, I'm sure, but I want you to wrap it up with about talking a little bit about CE courses, how they've evolved, and are there any of note that you would like to kind of mention? I know one that's a huge hit, the gnarly tails one, but everybody talks about that one, but I want you to just kind of take it from here and you can bring it home here with this.
Well, there's a lot of opportunities out there based upon, you know, as I say, gnarly situations, measurement, or mitigation. Mitigation is always kind of interesting, but it also, you know, the problems you run in mitigating buildings relate to how to interpret the measurements as well. And situations where you're trying to get radon levels down below the WHO guidance of 2.7 when the outdoor air is averaging 3. How do you do that? Okay, those kinds of things. And looking at, you know, expanding our toolbox, looking at HVAC systems, how they affect things, so we can be more cost effective in putting systems in. You know, my approach has been that as an engineer, we want to, you know, put in systems as cost effectively as possible with the least amount of resources. As I've explained to base commanders and some of the projects I've had, military bases, is the cheapest system to maintain is the one you already have. And a lot of times you can fix the things by determining why it's a problem in this room versus that room and trying to make that room replicate to that room. That kind of a thing. If you guys do an administration, I get out of the field. I'm already running with my video camera. We're going to create some pretty cool programs.
I think that's great, Doug. I'm just thanking everybody in the chat for joining us. Like I said, we're going to wrap it up here. The great Doug Clatter, we're so glad that he agreed to stay on with us. There's nobody like him and Denise Brown. We've learned so much. We've gone through so much training with them. We were fearful of the questions they might ask as we were going through this all summer. And we've learned so much already, but there's so much more to learn. So we're so grateful that they've both agreed to stay on and help us as we push forward and carry this amazing legacy that is Certi forward. So if anybody has questions, feel free to chat us or jump into the Certi booth. Doug, while famous and maybe not on the Certi booth all the time, will access it and get back to people, I'm sure. So I just want to say welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you. Okay. Bye, all. Yes, thank you. We're glad he's staying with us too. Doug, Brooke Hansen said, glad Doug K is staying with Certi. Thanks all.